السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. In the previous session of the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, we talked about the construction of the masjid. We were talking about the incidents that took place just after the Hijra of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam to Madina Munawwara. And we talked about stationing at the house of Abu Ayyub al-Ansari radiyallahu anhu, and then building the masjid, building the houses around the masjid, moving into that house. As Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam built that masjid, next to the masjid there was a place that was designated as Musalla al-Janaiz, the place for performing Salatul Janazah. Imam Ibn Sa'ad rahmatullahi alayhi have narrated in al-Tabaqat that in the beginning days, Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'een would inform Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam at a time when a person would be extremely sick and they would think that this person will not make it. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam would go to that person's place to visit that person. And he used to stay around that person, making dua for him, making istighfar for him, until the person would die. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would be present during the janazah, the ghusl and the janazah. And he would stay from the time the person was sick until the person would die. And he's buried. All of that time he would be there with those people. So Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'een thought that this is becoming too difficult for him and it's taking a lot of time from him, so they stopped calling him at the time when people were sick, and they started informing him only when the person would die, so that he would come and attend that person's ghusl and janazah. And after that, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, as they realized that it's getting difficult for him, Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'een started informing him only after they prepared the janazah, so he would do salatul janazah on those people. And then as Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas radiyallahu anhu narrates that sometime Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam after salatul janazah would attend the funeral of the person, the burial of the person, and sometime he would just leave after salatul janazah and rest of the people will bury that person. So anyway, the point is, they used to bring the janazah outside of the masjid, which was of course the house of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was adjacent to the masjid. So they would place a janazah at a certain place that was designated for that reason. It was called Musalla al-Janaiz, the place of performing Salatul Janazah. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would go out there and perform Salatul Janazah. This is to inform us that it's sunnah and it's better always to do Salatul Janazah outside of the masjid, not to take the janazah inside the masjid. It is makruh, it's undesirable to take the janazah inside the masjid. Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas radiyallahu anhu, who is one of Al-Ashr al-Mubashsharah, when he passed away, it was after the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So Aisha radiyallahu anha requested his janazah to be brought into the masjid because it's not good for women to go out for Salatul Janazah. So she said, if you bring the janazah into the masjid, I'm already here next to the masjid, so I will perform Salatul Janazah on Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas. Rest of the Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'een objected to this, as the hadith is in Sahih Muslim. They said no. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam would never bring the janazah inside the masjid. So we are not going to bring the janazah inside the masjid. Aisha radiyallahu anha, although she used one incident as a proof that Sahal and Suhail ibn Bayda, these two brothers, when they died, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam performed their Salatul Janazah inside the masjid. But that was only one incident throughout the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and of course indicating that if there is any reason like rain or like any other reason, then doing it inside the masjid is okay. Just like nowadays in Mecca and Medina, there is a reason for them to do it inside, and that is there are not thousands, sometimes there are hundreds of thousands of people, and sometimes they exceed millions of people to perform Salah inside the Haram over there. If they would request and ask all of those people to come out of one side of the masjid and then get together over there for Salatul Janazah, it won't be possible for them to do it. So when there is a valid reason for doing it inside, then it is allowed to do it. Otherwise, it's always better to do Salatul Janazah outside of the masjid. This is what we learn from Musalla al-Janaiz, the place that was designated for performing Salatul Janazah next to the masjid of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And with this, I would again remind that as we study the seerah, our purpose of studying the seerah is to learn the lessons. Whatever we can learn from these actions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and from the ways of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, it will also inshallah give us a lot of understanding of different rulings of the Sharia, how they were established and what stages they went through, and what is the ruling now of those things, where we may find a hadith in the Sahih, in Bukhari, Muslim, some other books of hadith, where the hadith may deliver a totally different message. We will learn inshallah as we talk about the seerah, we'll learn in that procedure that there are some hadiths, they are very authentic hadiths, but they are talking about situations that took place at the very beginning days of Islam, and really later on that situation and that order was abrogated and it was replaced by another order. During the same period as Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam was building the masjid in Madina Munawwara, he did one more thing that was something very unique in the history of the world. Something very unique in the history of this world. And the world have never seen anything similar to that, neither in the past and nor from that time up to this time, and I really doubted if any similar example would ever exist up to the Day of Judgment. And that was the brotherhood that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam established between the Muhajirin and Ansaar. Let us first thing look at what did he do, and then we will try to learn our lessons from it. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, as he realized that these people who came from Makkah Mukarramah, Muhajirin, they are called Muhajirin, they left their hometowns, they left their properties, their assets, and not only that, they even left their families. They left not only their brothers and sisters, not only their parents, they left even their children and their wives back in Makkah Mukarramah, those who rejected to embrace Islam. So these people, they just came to Madina Munawwara empty-handed. They had nothing with them. Of course, a person in that situation may need a lot of help, not necessarily financial help, moral help, where someone can talk to this person, someone can make him feel at home. This person, if this person after coming here, he would still feel that now I neither belong there nor here, and here I'm a stranger and I'm a burden, I don't really belong to this society. That person will be in a lot of hardship and difficulty. Mentally, this person will never be in peace of mind. Through this brotherhood that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam established, these people that left everything behind in Makkah Mukarramah, when they arrived Medina, subhanallah, their feeling was not only that they are out of place. Not to talk about that, these people were feeling more than being at home. They're so welcomed they are having so many offers from the people of Medina Munawwara. The people of Medina have opened up everything for them. They are sharing everything with them. In fact, in some situation it seems that the newcomer is the owner of the asset, and the person that lives, that owns it initially, and that the one who worked for it and who lived there for years and years and forever, that person becoming almost like a tenant. There is a hadith narrated by Anas radiallahu anhu that the people of Ansaar, and he is from Ansaar, so he knows that very well. He says the people of Ansaar never considered themselves to be more deserving of their assets, their properties, on not even a single dime that they owned, more than the brothers that they had from the Muhajirin. They always considered their brothers of Muhajirin more deserving of all of those things that they had than themselves. So before using anything, they would go and talk to one of these people, their brother from the Muhajirin. What brotherhood was this? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said to the people of Ansar that, O people of Ansar, look, these people that came from Makkah Mukarramah, they are called Muhajirin. These Muhajirin, they have nothing over here. They need a lot of help. I would recommend you people think of a way where you help these people at least settling down in Medina Munawwara, and at the same time give them some moral support. Right away, within no time, the people of Ansar came back with a response to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ya Rasulullah, we made this decision that half of our assets, half of our properties, whatever we own, we will give it to these people of Muhajirin. So each of us will take one person from Muhajirin, and we will share our assets, our properties, everything with that person. So if a person has a house, half of the house now is given to that Muhajir. If he has a garden, he has a business, he has a shop, he has whatever he has cattle, he has horses, he has camels, all of that, half of it will go to his brother that will be assigned to him by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a brother, and half of all of that will go to that person from Muhajirin. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to them, I have a different suggestion. They said, what, Ya Rasulullah? And if there is anything more we can do, tell us. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, my suggestion is, if you share your land and your properties with these people of Makkah are not used to farming and cultivating lands. They are not farmers. And they're not used to this type of work. So they won't be able to manage it properly. My suggestion is, you keep whatever is yours, and whatever the outcome is, you share it with these people. Share the outcome, share the profit with these people, so you still remain the owners, and the profits you would share it with these people. Subhanallah, the people of Ansar wanted to do more than this. They wanted to do more than sharing half of the profit with these people. And this is not an easy thing. Really, it's very easy to talk about. But opening up the heart, the way these Ansar are opening their hearts for Muhajirin, subhanallah, it's a unique example in the history of the world. Yes, occasionally you may have one or two people doing something like this, but a whole nation doing it for another whole nation, and for every newcomer, and people are coming from all around the world. It's not that just these people from Mecca. Suhaib is coming from Rome. Salman is coming from Persia. Bilal came from Abyssinia. And they're opening their houses for all of these people. Anyone comes for the sake of Allah and he's immigrating to Medina Munawwara, he needs our help, then one of us will take him. That's it. So these Ansar, they wanted to do more than this. So now they're suggesting, Ya Rasulullah, what we would do is, we would still share half of what we have, and we will work for them. So if we have shared our land with someone, we will still continue working the way we used to work before. So we will be, that portion of the land will be for this brother from Muhajirin, but we will work and we will give him whatever is in his land, and we will share our profit from our lands with them too. And they started taking them to their homes. And as they take them home, here, my brother, look, this is my house. It has 2 stories. You choose which of the 2 you like, and the other one is mine. And this is my property. This is my business. This is my farm. This is my land. This is my camels. These are here my horses. Look, this, I have 100 camels. 50 of these camels are yours. 50 of them are mine. And you choose the better 50 that you like. Something extremely unique. And at the same time, it shows that just by spending few days in the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how the situation of their heart was changed. That for these people, their brothers meant more than anything else in the world. Just some days in the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Remember, these people were not like this by birth. In fact, these are the people who are having wars for years and years, just for minute things. But now, they are willing to sacrifice everything for their brothers, everything for their sisters. A new Muslim brother comes, a new Muslim sister comes. That person finds here more than what they have left behind. They gave so much that once the Muhajirin, as they got together and they started discussing it, they got worried. They had a concern. They had a big question. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal rahmatullahi alayhi rated in his Musnad, and Ibn Abi Shayba in his Musannaf, that the Muhajirin, once they discussed this issue amongst themselves, and they went to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam with a very important question. Ya Rasulullah, as we came to Medina, these people of Ansaar, they shared everything with us. And not only that they shared it with us, they started giving us what they had also, and sharing their profits. They worked for us, and they're working for us as we are the masters, and they are the workers, and they are the employees at our land and our factories and our shops. They work for us, and they come and give us the profit. Ya Rasulullah, our fear is these people are getting all the reward. They are going away with all the reward, Ya Rasulullah. What is it that we are getting? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, of course, he realized that these people, the sacrifice these people have offered is not less than what these Ansar are doing, leaving everything behind. These people have already offered that type of sacrifice of giving up everything that they had in Makkah Mukarramah before coming to Medina. They were very wealthy. They had their families. They had their businesses. They had their homes, everything. That they left all of that behind. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to these people of Muhajirin, you can get the same type of reward as long as you do 2 things. As long as you do 2 things. Number 1, be grateful to these Ansar by talking good about them. Number 2, make dua for them. Subhanallah. What a teaching. What a beautiful lesson that we get from here. That someone is favoring them, and how much is not by giving them few dollars every day, giving them so much. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is telling them that you can pay them back by doing 2 things. Talk good about these people. Be grateful, and the sign of being grateful is talk good about these people. Talk about their good qualities. Look, mashallah, people of Ansar, they are great people, they are this. Talk good about them. This is the first thing where we normally fail. A person would do us favor for years and years. At the end, he makes one mistake. And see what we start saying about that person. Forget about any other relationship. A very simple example of it. A relationship of a husband and a wife. Where sometimes it may be difficult to say, after spending those many years together and having children together, who have done more favor to the other person? Both really have done a lot for the other person. All of a sudden, shaitan comes in between. Whatever the situation may arise. Finally, the situation gets so bad that it ends at a divorce or close to that situation. Now, subhanallah, you see each person is changing so badly that they are willing to take the other person to the court. Filing a long case against this person that he did this to me and she did this into me. After all of those favors that they have been doing to each other for years and years, how can you stand in the court in front of that person saying that this person have done these wrong things to me? What is gratefulness? Yes, I agree the person have done all of this to you. But have you forgotten the last 15 years, 20 years of your life? Don't you remember any good thing that this person have done for you? In that type of life, normally there is some day in the life when a person have offered a lot of sacrifice for the other person. One person is sick, the other person is awake. Just remember that night when that person was awake for your sake, and compare it with these 20 wrongdoings of this person. Of course, if you have the quality of being grateful, you will say, no, I will give up all of these 20 things for that one night, and he can do 20 more and still I won't hold him responsible for it. We need to learn what is being grateful. And in every relationship of the life, we find similar type of situations. Parents and children, teachers and students, employees and employers. Every situation. Just because of this, not having this quality of being grateful, we get into so many difficulties, put ourselves into hardships and difficulties, and put others into difficulties also. Mullah Ali Qari rahimahullah have rated in a very beautiful book that he has written, Mirqat, the explanation of Mishkat al-Masabih, that one of the scholars had differences with his family. And these differences, of course, they are not necessarily only among the bad people or people who are doing wrong. Great people can have differences, and of course, two different persons, they cannot have similar type of personalities, they cannot get along, it may end at a divorce. It's not haram. Ending at a divorce is not haram. They couldn't make it. They couldn't stay together. They could not understand each other. They could not live with each other, whatever the situation is. But does that mean that we have to harm each other? Does it mean that we have to talk against each other? So, Mullah Ali Qari rahimahullah narrates, a scholar, did not get along with his wife. So people started coming to him as normally it happens, and they're asking him, what happened? Yeah, we know this family is not good, and these type of things. They're expecting him to say something. So he says, listen, my brothers, she is still my wife. I'm not gone so low yet that I would talk against my own wife. So they waited until he divorced his wife. After divorce, they went to him. Can you tell her something about her? Why did you divorce her? What was wrong with her? He says, my brothers, listen. I have divorced this woman, and after divorce, now no more relationship exists between me and her. She's someone else's daughter and someone else's sister now. How can I talk about other people's daughters and sisters? Does Islam allow me to do that? I'm not going to say a single word against her. Yes, it was differences between me and her, but don't expect me to say anything against her. Subhanallah. This is really something that we need to learn. And we will inshallah have some sessions to talk about this quality of being grateful. And especially inshallah, we may cover some of it as we will talk about the names of Allah in those sessions, and Allah being Ash-Shakur, grateful. Anyway, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said to these Sahaba Ridwanullah al-Majma'in, said to Muhajirin, that as long as you do two things, then you are getting the equal reward and you are not losing any reward. Number one, be grateful and talk good about these people. This is number one. This is a sign of being grateful, that you talk good about the person. Not like, as we normally say, yeah, I know, he's very nice and really I respect him also and I do this. But at the same time, I have to say what the truth is, and then we go in a whole list of things. All of a sudden, that one but changes the whole topic into everything else. So, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned this as one sign. Number two, he said, make dua for them. What is making dua for them? Remember, there is always situations in our lives when we feel that I cannot pay this person back. We have to do these two things. Make dua for that person. When you make the dua, remember, dua is such a powerful tool that there is nothing more valuable in this world than dua. Especially a dua that comes with sincerity. And I'm not saying a dua that comes only from a person who's considered to be virtuous. Dua of imam only. Dua of scholars only. I'm not saying that. Dua from a sincere heart, especially when a person is in a difficult situation, no matter how sinner that is, we have favored that person, we have helped that person. At that situation, when his heart was broke, and you helped him, and that person makes dua for you. What can be more valuable than that dua? What did we pay to get that dua? 1,000? 10,000? Pay the whole world to get a dua from a sincere heart. And still, that dua is more valuable and more expensive than everything else that you paid for it. This is something that we need to realize. Dua is a very important thing that we can get in our lives. Always try to get the dua. Children, get the dua of your parents. There is nothing like that. Nothing like getting the dua of parents. And parents, make dua for your children. You have something very valuable for your children. Really, if we know the importance of this dua, and especially the dua of parents for children, parents will be spending their days just making dua for their children. As we spend our hours and our days and our lives working for them, to earn for them, we will be spending our times, our nights, our free times making dua for our children. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said in the hadith, dua of parents regarding their children is normally not rejected. That dua is not rejected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Somehow, one way or other, the child will have the effect of that dua. Somehow this child will see the benefit of the dua in his life. It won't just go away. You may have made a dua for your child, Ya Allah, give him this. And you don't see your son, your daughter getting that. Allah sometime will give them something better than what you have asked for. Dua of parents for children. I don't want to really change the topic. I just wanted to remind this in the light of this hadith. But again, coming back to the hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is asking us, when a person does some favor to you, make dua for them. Get dua. So I was saying, number one, get the dua from people as much as you can. Number two, for those who were favored by others, make dua, but at the same time, after making dua, don't think that you have done everything you were supposed to do, and now you can say, I have paid the person more than what he have done for me, so therefore, that's it. Now this person is in debt of me. No, after making dua, still keep on talking good about those people. Be grateful. Again, Mullah Ali Qari rahimahullah narrated in Mirqat that it was the habit of Aisha radiyallahu anha, al-Mu'mineen. When a beggar would normally come to her, and you know how beggars have a habit of making dua for the person. May God bless you, may God give you this, may God give you a lot of blessings, please give me with this, help me with this. So they have a habit of making dua for you. It was Aisha radiyallahu anha's habit that when a beggar would come to her, and of course he will make dua for her, or she will make dua for her at the time of asking for something, Aisha radiyallahu anha, of course, number one, she would never reject them and never turn them away empty-handed. Number two, she would always, at the same time as that person is making dua for her, she will be making dua for that person, and then she will give them some sadaqat. So people asked her, why do you do this for? We have never seen anyone doing this. That you make a lot of dua for that person also, and then you give sadaqah also. She said, because I cannot pay that person through the sadaqah. If I just give that person sadaqah, that person has done more favor to me than I have done to this person. Therefore, I make dua also and I give sadaqah. So I have done more favor to this person. So then, in that situation, I'm the giver. I'm not the taker. Otherwise, I'm really the taker because that person is giving me more dua. And each and every dua is more valuable than any sadaqah I can give to that person. These are the people who realize the importance of dua. So, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said to Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'een that make dua for these people and be grateful to them. As a sign of that, keep on talking good about these people. In the initial days of this Islamic brotherhood, after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam established that brotherhood, the order came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَهَاجَرُوا وَجَاهَدُوا بِأَمْوَالِهِمْ وَأَنفُسِهِمْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَالَّذِينَ آوَوا وَنَصَرُوا أُولَٰئِكَ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ. These people now are related to each other, which simply refers to they will be inheriting each other. So now after this brotherhood was established, the rule was this person, the person who's from Ansaar, if he would die, his own brother will not inherit him anymore. This person from the Muhajirin will inherit him. And if a person from Ansaar, from the Muhajirin will die, then his real brother will not inherit him. This person from Ansaar, his brother from Ansaar will inherit him. That was the rule. After the battle of Badr, then the order was changed, and the next ayah of Surah Al-Anfal was revealed. These are the ending ayahs of Surah Al-Anfal. وَأُولُو الْأَرْحَامِ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلَى بِبَعْضٍ فِي كِتَابِ اللَّهِ. That now the people who were related, blood relationship, will take over that situation again, and they will be inheriting each other. But this order was only for the beginning days of Islam, where there was a need to establish a strong community. From this we also really learn how Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam established the brotherhood amongst the Sahaba ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'een, and where did they get that strength in that community? It's not by holding conference about Islamic brotherhood, and at the end of it, no one wants to even talk to each other. This is how Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam established that brotherhood. That these are the people who are staying together. They are sharing everything with others. And not only that, at the end, the approval from Allah is such that He would even reveal the ayah that they would even inherit each other. After that, the rule of the inheritance, as it was abrogated, but the rest of the ruling was still there of sharing, and they used to share their properties, their assets, and everything that they owned with their brothers from Muhajirin, from the who would come to Medina Munawwara. Very briefly, an overlook of the situation of Ansar, telling us the type of sacrifice these Ansar offered after becoming Muslims. Number one, they shared their assets, their properties with Muhajirin, so half of the wealth is going that way. Number two, from whatever they are earning, they are still giving it to these Muhajirin. Number three, they are giving a lot of sadaqat that are required to build a masjid, and they are required for preparing the armies that were going out for jihad. Inshallah, we'll talk about that in the next steps as that point would come. So there a lot of their sadaqat are going in that directions. Then they are paying the zakat also. On top of that, this is where their earnings are going. Now they have 3 to 4 more different avenues where they have to spend. And expenditure is not only a few dollars out of or few 2-3%. Initially, the first step was half of everything they owned, and then they are giving sadaqat. And when we look at the hadith of their sadaqat, of course, these were the people who would not be satisfied by giving few dollars out of what they owned. Sometimes they are giving 1/3 of everything that they have earned. On top of that, their income was reduced. How? By sharing, number one. Number two, if we take a general look at the life of Sahaba Ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'in, we will see that about 1/3 of the time, from the time Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam came to Medina Munawwara, 1/3 of their time was spent out of Medina, in different battles, in the trips to Hajj, Umrah, and to the battles. 1/3 of their time was spent out of Medina. So the sources of the income are reduced and the expenses are increased. Not a single day you would hear any of them is complaining or saying that now we are having little difficult time because of these 10 things. No complaints. This is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala really loved from the people of Ansar, and He talked about it in Quran also. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam therefore required us that we must love Ansar. He said in the hadith, Hubbul Ansari min al-Iman. It is part of our Iman to have love for those Ansar. And subhanallah, after knowing these things about Ansar, who will not have love for those people? Who would not love those people with these qualities? Yes, there may be some people. Those who don't like these qualities of helping others. Those who don't like to see others being happy. All they like to see is they themselves being happy. They like to get all the happiness for themselves. And of course, there is a large number of people in the world of those kind of people also, who would just love to see themselves having a lot of fun, having good time, and they don't like to see a smile on others' faces. It upsets them when they see others smiling. There are those kind of people too. This is why Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Hubbul Ansari min al-Iman. To love Ansar is a sign of Iman. A person with Iman who would know these things, for sure he will carry that love for the people of Ansar, because every mu'min will have these qualities in him and her that he would love, and she would love these qualities from people. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, at the same time he realized that the people in Medina Munawwara are suffering from one thing, and that is they don't have sweet water in Medina. Most of the wells that were in Medina Munawwara, the water in those wells was bitter and was not drinkable. There were only few wells in Medina Munawwara. They were privately owned. They had sweet water and everyone was in need of buying water from them. One of them, a big well that was enough to provide water for all the people of Medina, was called Bi'r Ruma. It belonged to a Jew in Medina Munawwara, and of course he used to sell the water by glasses. So if you need a glass of water, you will have to pay this much. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam made this announcement in the masjid. Who would buy Bi'r Ruma from that person? And the price I would pay him is a well in Jannah, a fountain in Jannah. Usman radiallahu anhu, as soon as he heard it, he left the masjid quick. And right away he goes to that Jew. He asked him, would you like to sell this well? And of course, no, you know, this is too expensive. I don't think you can pay for it. He says, okay, tell me, what do you want for it? And he came up with some very high price. To his surprise, Usman radiallahu anhu right away says to him, okay, it's sold. It's a deal. And he pays him that amount because he knows what he's getting in return is much more valuable than what he's spending. A guarantee of Jannah from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He came back, right away he came back to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Ya Rasulullah, Bi'r Ruma from now on is waqf for all the Muslims, and anyone can go, or in fact for all the people, anyone can go and drink water from it. It's free for all people. Look at the steps Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is taking in that town towards the development of the society, of developing that society. And he's not just developing a small society that later on turns out to be the first example of a Muslim of the Khilafah in Islam. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is the leader of that Khilafah, telling us that when we have this type of situation, when we are having that type of society, we should look for things where people are in difficulties and find solution for people. So our people will always be having they won't have to go through difficulties for surviving. Water, of course, is one of the most important needs for human beings, and if everyone will have to work for buying some water to drink, it will be a difficult situation, especially there are so many fuqara, there are so many poor people, they can't afford it. So they will have to go and work for the person, and now because after working for the person they will get a glass of water. That's too much. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam made it waqf, and he encouraged them, and Uthman radiallahu anhu donated that, and he made it waqf for all the people. It was during the same time, of course, the masjid have just been built. And as I mentioned earlier, if you remember, in those days there was a disease in Medina Munawwara. Most of the Sahaba were affected by that. Their situation got so bad that they could hardly stand up for doing the Salah. One day Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam came to the masjid, and he saw that most of the people are sitting down and doing the Salah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam at that time, he said to them that doing Salah is standing up will double the reward for you. So by hearing this, most of them, they stood up and started performing the Salah standing up. The reason I mentioned this hadith, so we know the background of this hadith, because there are some other hadiths where Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that when a person performs Salah sitting down, will get half of the reward than doing the Salah standing up. This hadith that we have just talked about is not referring to that point, to that topic. Remember, there are two different rules. Number one, if a person is doing nafil, and you do the nafil sitting down, you will get half of the reward than you will get it by doing it standing up. So if you are doing a nafil prayer standing up, you will get the full reward. You perform 2 rak'ah nafil sitting down, you will get the reward as if you have done 1 rak'ah standing up. Half of the reward. Still, we are encouraged, for people like me especially, I would say, And if you think that you are in the similar situation as mine, then please use this opportunity. And that is, many times we feel so lazy to get up and do the salah. After salah you feel that, okay, let me get up and do 2 more rak'ahs, and there is a feeling, I'm so tired. Okay, you're tired? Sit down. Well, as you're sitting, Allahu Akbar. Do 2 rak'ah salah while you're sitting down. And then after you do 2 rak'ah, say to yourself that I'm getting the reward. I have got the reward of only 1 rak'ah standing up. I'll do 2 more rak'ahs sitting down. So I will make up for 2 rak'ahs of standing up. Just sit down and keep on doing the 2 rak'ahs. This will at least give us the opportunity and encouragement to do some nawafil. Otherwise, we know, we get lazy standing up and then we don't get up. You're sitting on your bed. You're sitting on your bed. And you don't feel like getting up, but you have wudu. Face towards the Qibla while you're on your bed. Perform 2 rak'ah on your bed. Now, what excuse do we have? And as I said, for people like me, it's alhamdulillah, it's a great ni'mah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that at least we can do something now. And we can stand. And after we start doing it, believe me, do it for a couple of days, and you do 2 rak'ahs, then 2 rak'ahs, then at the end you may say to yourself, you know, I'm doing it anyway, why not stand up and do 2 more rak'ahs? But at least stand with these, doing the salah sitting down. Shaitan will come and tell you, oh, you know, you will get half of the reward. So later on, this is the point. Later on, you do 2 rak'ahs standing up. No, not later on. This is the time. Use it at this time. Later on, inshallah, I will do more if I can. But let me at this time do what I have to do. Anyway, so this is one thing. And that is doing salah, sitting down in normal situation when the person is not sick. You can do nafil sitting down. You will get half of the reward than doing it standing up. But you cannot do fard prayers sitting down. Number 2, if the person is sick, cannot stand up. It's extremely difficult for this person to stand up. He's allowed to do even the fara'id sitting down. In this situation, this person is not getting half the reward. Remember, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said in the hadith, when the person is sick and does anything because of his sickness, is not able to do the ibadah that he was performing while he was healthy, he will be getting the full reward for it. So all the nawafil that you used to do when you were healthy, you cannot do it because you are sick now, or because you got into the old age, or all of a sudden a disease came, affected you, and you cannot do those ibadahs anymore. You will continuously be getting the reward for all of those ibadahs. Subhanallah. This is why it's an opportunity for us. At this time, do whatever you can, so at a time when we won't be able to do, we will continuously be getting the reward for all of what we do at this time. It's not half of the reward. So now, if the person is sick, cannot stand up, that perform the salah because of sickness, perform the salah sitting down, will get the full reward. In this type of situation, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is telling the Sahaba that if you are sick, you cannot get up, you are getting the full reward. But if you still take that burden and force yourself and stand up and do it, you will get double the reward than a normal person would get by doing the salah standing up. Here we can understand this hadith. And there is continuation to the hadith, that many times I open a book of hadith or book written by people who are trying to explain a hadith. They are not able to explain this next portion of the hadith where it says, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if a person will perform salah sitting down, will get the reward, half of the reward, or will get double the reward than a person who would do it laying down. You are not allowed to do the salah laying down in normal situations. You cannot. Not even the nafil. Don't do it. We cannot do it laying down in just normal situation. What this is referring to, this situation. The person is sick, is not able to sit down. So of course is allowed to do the salah laying down. He still has to do the salah. But if this person will force himself and will sit and do the salah, will get double the reward than he would get for a normal salah. This is what these hadiths are referring to. And this is what we learn from this situation. SubhanAllah, every situation is a great lesson for us that took place at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Of course, later on, as we talked about it earlier, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam made dua for the people of Medina, and that disease went out of Medina. No more disease existed in Medina Munawwara after that dua of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. During the same first year of Hijra, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam did one more thing that was very important and shows a great achievement and at the same time wisdom of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Most of the people of Medina were of two clans. They belonged to two clans, Aus and Khazraj. And majority of these people had embraced Islam. So they were Muslims. There were three more clans in Medina. They were smaller in number in comparison to these two, Aus and Khazraj. But still, these three clans existed in Medina Munawwara, and they rejected to accept Islam. Those were the three clans of Yahud, of Jews, in Medina Munawwara. Banu Nadir, Banu Qurayza, and Banu Qaynuqa'. These three clans of Jews, they rejected to embrace Islam. Although some of them, they came into Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and took the Shahada, but the large number of those people did not accept Islam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam went to these people, and he said, look, we will be living in the same town. We have to live together. Why not have a treaty where we can understand each other better, and we know on what terms we get along and live together, and how we are going to be dealing with each other. As he took that step, this was a major step, a very important step in establishing that rule in Medina Munawwara and peace in Medina Munawwara. There were many conditions in that treaty, part of that treaty. Some of them that I just like to point out for us to understand what type of treaty was. That Muslims and Jews that are living here, we will not fight each other, we will not hurt each other, we will treat each other just the way we treat our people. Another condition was that if any other power from outside of Medina will attack any of us in Medina, we all together are going to be defending each other. We all together will defend Medina and the people of Medina. So it's not that we will say, no, it's only they are taking the Jews, and Jews are going to say, no, they are taking the Muslims, and we have nothing to do with it. We will not be just sitting back. We will always be helping each other in those situations. Number 3, none of us will help any other power against each other. And there were many others, but finally, the final condition that is very important for us to remember was that if there are differences in understanding anything at any time, the final decision would be of Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and they all agreed to that. One thing that we need to remember about this treaty, and that was, remember this treaty was at the first year of the Hijrah, where most of the rules of Islam were not established. So if anyone needs to use this as an example for any reason, first thing we have to refer back to the complete conditions that were mentioned in that treaty. They are narrated in Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya, in the 3rd volume of Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya by Imam Ibn Kathir rahmatullahi alayh. Number 2, then you have to refer to the books of fiqh that talk about these conditions, because there may be some abrogation later on in the orders that were there in that treaty, because this is only the first year of the Hijrah, and most of the rules of Islam were established later on after this period. So this is something that we need to remember. As far as Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam making that treaty with them, he made it and he was firm on it. Not a single condition of that treaty was violated by Muslims at any time. Yes, it was violated by the other groups at different occasions, at different times, and that is something that inshallah as we go along, we will be seeing that in the seerah, and we will read how those people treated this treaty and what was the reaction of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on that. We will talk about that as that time would come inshallah. So these were some of the very important incidents that took place in the first year of the Hijrah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to Madina Munawwarah. Inshallah, in our next session, we will talk about the incidents and we will get into the incidents that took place in the second year of the Hijrah to Madina Munawwarah. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. Inshallah, we'll take the questions after Salah. It's time for Salat al-Maghrib.